All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Field Stories. My name is Nick, and I've made a return. I haven't been on for, well, it's been a long time, I'll be honest. But yeah, look,
One episode in like 3 months. So yeah, welcome back,
fantastic.
Nick. Welcome
Good
back.
numbers,
Who is
good
that?
numbers. Yeah,
Yeah, who is
well,
this guy? Maybe we should reintroduce our new co-host, Nick Smith. Yeah.
I'm back.
Welcome to the show, Nick.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It'll be more than a guest appearance now because I'm back in the UK. So, yeah, how are you guys doing? It's been a while. Honestly, I was genuinely curious what you've been up to. I mean, Chris, you've probably traveled through 7 continents, all of them at this point.
Well, I think I've been in 3 since she left. I mean, I don't know about that. Definitely 3. So since she left, yeah.
Me too, actually. Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys. I'm just still here in Massachusetts, but it's cool. I totally want to travel. It's fine.
You should do it. How's the moving in process going? Well, done.
Oh, it's done. Yeah. No, I know it's been a minute since we played. Yeah, moving in is done. I think the person upstairs is all the way done moving, so no more fire alarms going off. For some reason. So bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, just field season is still going on till probably November. Honestly, maybe even December, because our climate is just continuing to, not cool, and we're just experiencing a really warm fall, so the turtles are all out. I'm actually going to be doing some Camp Ridley work, which is very outside of my freshwater turtle domain, but it'll be very exciting later on. And yeah, I think that will, kind of transition us into our next guest. But yeah, is there anything else you all want to talk about before I introduce who we're gonna be talking to?
Just being flattened by a truck. It feels like coming back to the UK. I mean, it's been quite a challenging transition back to regular student life. I mean, I've lived in basic luxury in within the jungle and the savannas of Uganda and Suriname, and yeah, coming back to UK has been a bit of a culture shock, but in probably a good way. Settle down, chill out, do something with all the stuff that I've got, the content. So that's going to be the hard part. Yeah. Super excited to be back on the podcast and regularly on the podcast too. It will be more consistent from now on, and very excited for that because you guys have had some cool guests that I've missed out on, and want to be back in and get involved.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to have you. I'm here in Austria actually right now. A little bit of time to travel with some of my friends. Actually, a couple. I think our second or third episode was with Fabian Mulberger and Lucas. I'm not going to say his last name because I can't pronounce it because it's Austrian. And yeah, Fabian and Lucas, and I just good friend, but I'll never say his last name. And yeah, so I'm in Lucas's family home right now, actually, using the high tech equipment from his much more high tech productions. And yeah, so just over here spending some time. It's actually his birthday on Tuesday, Luke's birthday, and Fabian's birthday was yesterday. So kind of just have a little birthday week with them, chilling out, having some fun. A very rare vacation for me, I guess, since even then I'm still working. But yeah, so currently looking at the Austrian Alps as we record this, and after that, I will be back into the field for about 9 weeks in near Mono National Park, actually. So I don't know what my availability is going to be like exactly. So we may be losing another co-host soon. So you're back, Nick, and I don't know where I'll be. We'll see. I'll try, but can't promise it. But I should be here for another episode at least, and then we'll just have to see. So, so yeah, for now, 3 of us are together, and we are ready for our next guest, who I guess is a friend of Michela today. So you go ahead and introduce her and throw to the interview.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I have my friend Jamie joining us, and she's a sea turtle biologist out of North Carolina. Currently studying her PhD in Dr. Matt Ramirez's lab. And yeah, I'm really excited for her to kind of elaborate what her PhD is about and all the work that she's been diving into. So yeah, with that, let's talk to Jamie. Welcome back, everyone. I am your co-host for Field Stories, Michela, and I'm here today with Nick and Chris. So very excited to finally have Nick back. And today we're introducing a good friend of mine, Jamie Clark. Jamie and I met a couple years ago now on a NOAA ship. We were stuck out in the Atlantic. We shouldn't say stuck. We chose to be stuck for 2 weeks researching red snapper and grouper, and we were in the same sleeping corridors and then became tied to the hip and have been good friends ever since. So I'm really excited to have Jamie on today. Jamie is a PhD researcher in Dr. Matt Ramirez's lab in North Carolina, and she studies sea turtles. And she specifically studies a projection of, age of turtles and looking at how to age turtles without, them being dead in very layman terms. But I'm going to have Jamie kind of explain a little bit more about herself and the world of sea turtles and what she's up to right now. So go ahead and take it away, Jamie.
Thank you so much, Vic. I'm happy to be here. So thank you so much. And we were really tied to the hip. You volunteered for that cruise. I was paid. So I felt honored to be there. It was so much fun.
On those cruises, they were my favorite. And then, it was such a time. I can't wait to talk to you about it later too.
It was so stinky. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so thank you for having me. My name is Jamie, and I am a sea turtle biologist at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And so I did my bachelor's and my master's at the University of South Carolina in marine science. And so I feel like I have a very broad background because I learned a lot about physical oceanography, which was not my peak interest. And then I did my master's in, wait for it, conch eye regeneration. Yes. Conch, which are herbivores. Wow. Yeah. They can regenerate eyeballs, which was super cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I did visual studies. And so I was labeling their eyes with immunolabeling. So I was doing proteins, labeling their eyeballs to see where the visual proteins were actually located in the eye during eye regeneration. And then I was also doing behavioral studies. And then that translated into really nothing. I haven't published it yet because we're still working on data. So what is it? 8 years later, 10 years later? Yeah. Eventually it'll be published. And then I worked at and then I worked at NOAA Fisheries for 5 years in Beaufort, North Carolina. First I worked with the sea turtle team on sea turtle aging, and that's where I first learned, wait for it, it's a long word, skeletochronology. That's the process of aging bones. And so we histologically process bones to then receive and estimate age just by counting growth rings. It's just like aging a tree. And so I learned this technique at the NOAA Beaufort lab. And while I was working on the sea turtle team, we did a lot of field work. So that's where some of my field stories are going to come in. We were looking at local movements of turtles that were radio tagged. And so we had deployed an acoustic array. And we were also looking at bycatch reduction in sea turtles in the pound net industry. So it was a lot of field work. And then in 2020, I transitioned to the fisheries team. So I was doing fish life history. So I was aging fish commercially, essentially. I felt like a production line. There was thousands of fish otoliths to process. And then after that, I wanted to get back to the sea turtle world. So I knew I wanted to come back for my PhD. And I was really curious of how we could age the more current population of sea turtles. And so I wanted to estimate age in live sea turtles because obviously we're aging the bones of dead stranded turtles collected all across the US. And so I want to estimate age in live turtles and actually get a snapshot of the live, current, up-to-date population that is out there right now. And that'll be what my PhD will be working on.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing, Jamie. I guess I would say for starters, I mean, it may not have been a publication, but at least it came to a master's. It's better than it's something, and and probably taught you a lot on the way as well. So it was worth something, I'm sure. So I have two questions, I guess. One probably, well, maybe they're both long, but I think one will be shorter than the other. But the first one is just for our listeners who maybe haven't worked in biology or definitely haven't worked in ocean biology, ocean ecology. Maybe you can explain a little about what NOAA is exactly, just for our listeners, what that is and what that means.
I would love to, because actually as a junior and I guess it was a sophomore, I applied to the NOAA Ernest F. Holling Scholarship. And so through this scholarship, I actually learned a lot about the NOAA infrastructure and what components to it. So NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And what NOAA is it's part of the Department of Commerce, and they are responsible for doing a multitude of different things. So there's, I believe, 4 branches to it. There's the National Weather Service, there is the National Ocean Service, There's OAR, which is the Oceanic and Atmospheric Research. And then there's the Fishery Service. So that's the National Marine Fishery Service, NIMS. And so that's the component I was working in. And the main component for NIMS is that they're looking for what sustainable fisheries are and trying to really conserve our current fisheries populations, and so that we don't fish them all out. And so they try and assess what the current populations are and make management decisions.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. I mean, I think it's one of those terms that, if you're in it, it's just you throw it around like every minute and everybody knows it. But I mean, for those who aren't, I've heard it before and I knew basically what it was related to, but I'm sure some of our listeners had no idea. And I just wanted to sort of clear that up a bit. And then, so my question, which is maybe a bigger question, is, I'm really interested in the work you're doing with aging, sea turtles. And I think that it's really relevant, quite the topic for aging a lot of animals. And it's very difficult. A lot of the work I do involves aging birds through their molting pattern and their feathers. And obviously with bats, we can age them to a certain level, although there's been some recent work on looking at different ways to age them longer past the first year of their life. But aging animals is very, very important, as I know and as a lot of researchers know. But I guess maybe because it's going to be, your literal PhD, maybe you could explain, not so much, I mean, we can talk about how you're going to do it, but I'm also curious about why it's important and how it can help from your perspective with conservation, with understanding their biology more, with understanding their ecology. Because, a lot of things we can do, but there's also a reason why it's important. So maybe you can build upon that a little bit in relation to specifically sea turtles, but I think you probably have some answers that are relevant in the broader context of biology and conservation in general.
I sure did. I sure do, actually. And thank you for asking this question, because I do need to strengthen my hook for why this is important. So this is practicing for my dissertation.
Spot, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you did. So one, I feel like I have three answers for this. So
Good.
One, I feel it's important to look at the time scale. So monitoring work is very important to actually assessing the changes in different populations. And so we need decades worth of data to actually look at is the size and age structure, which means just like in humans, I'm say 30 years old at 6'4". We want to look at that over an entire population. The size and age relationships tell us a lot about the health, and also about how many births and deaths happen that year, and also about how many individuals are mature, how many mature reproducing females and males separately. We want to estimate both sexes is also very important to the health and sustainability of a population. And also second, I think age estimation right now, unfortunately, we're looking at a lot of dead animals. And so I think we're looking at such a population that was maybe even decades ago, and we're trying to make management decisions on a historical population, I feel. And right now, I threw out that skeletochronology term. Skeletochronology, and I don't have an accurate number for it, but I think that it takes between about 5 to 10 years to generate age estimates for a good amount of sea turtles. It takes a lot of processing time and expertise to actually generate age estimates. And so we take a lot of care, and we are doing constant quality assessment and quality assurance to make sure that we're generating accurate age estimates that reflect the population. However, that population might be decades ago. So I think this age estimation, I think, should go into looking at the current populations. And so there's actually these two really cool techniques, which I'm sure we'll get into, but one of them is called FITNIRS, which is FTNIRS, and that's using near-infrared spectroscopy to estimate age just via a light scan. It's totally non-invasive, but it does require some modeling. And then additionally, there's DNA methylation, also called epigenetics, and it's using the correlation between age and methylation levels at known age-correlated sites on the genome. And so we can use these two methods to actually estimate age in live populations. And so that's what I'm doing in sea turtles, because I think truly my real passion is sea turtles, but any protected resource, any species that is at risk, I feel needs a more up-to-date, and we need to look at the current snapshot of populations and population health, size and age structure, and also the I think the size and age structure of the sexual the sexually mature individuals. Sorry, I totally stuttered on that one. If you want to cut any of that out, please. But yeah, the population of the mature population. What's another word for that? Yeah,
Adult population, I suppose. Yeah,
adult population. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I think it's really a good point, and I would just to add to that, and then I'll let you can go next, Nick. I would just say I think it's important not just for protected species, but even for species that today are seemingly doing okay, as we've seen so often historically. Species that can be common and abundant can quickly crash, and often those are the groups we actually get the most data from. So understanding the most about them can really give us a window into population trends in those groups, which can often be a proxy for species that are harder to detect. So I completely agree. I mean, you summed it up well, and I think that understanding more about the age demographics within a population is super useful for everything we do with monitoring, because as you said, it takes a long time to build up this data and actually understand it. So yeah, no, really cool. Thank you for that answer.
Anytime. And I just want to add that looking at the mortalities and birth rates is also a really important age metric, and also contributing to the growth or depletion of a population. And so we will look at tracking cohorts and how different age groups are transferring through time and actually aging and moving out of the population.
And I guess it's sorry, I will shut up in a minute. This is geeky stuff that gets me excited. I guess it's also important maybe to explain to the listeners that that this, like we've talked about with some groups, like I mean, I work with snakes a lot, so large snakes, or obviously any turtles, any turtles, whether terrestrial or aquatic. These are species that live a very long time, and mortality rate as adults is very low, even though it's incredibly high as juveniles. And I think that, so understand, like you made a really good point, Jamie. An animal could be dying that could be 70, 80, 90 years old, or it could be only 50, 60. And there's a big difference in even the effect and how long an animal's lived. And so, it's really complicated. The growth rates too are not linear, right? They change a lot as they get older. So, really cool, really valid work, really important. And it's one of those hidden fields of research that maybe on the surface for conservation doesn't seem to have a value, but actually has a huge value. So thanks for that.
Exactly. And something with sea turtles that's tricky is that they take forever to mature. So a loggerhead sea turtle can become sexually mature between 25 to 30 years old. So it takes a long time to actually get there.
Crazy.
And it's crazy.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's it's something that doesn't get talked about too much, actually. So that's a very useful insight, actually. It's really nice to see. I'm just going to ask a slightly different question along the lines of where it's to do with the conch eye. I'm really curious about this. So it's actually less about the subject, but more about how you come about to study that on the course. So was that part of was it a master's, did you say? Sorry.
It was. Yes, it was.
Yeah. So my question is, and it's more of like a wider question, is how these assignments get set, for example. Because on my course, I do a creative photography and film course, and I'm doing a dissertation this year, and I get to choose completely whatever I want. It's I can do anything I like. But I gather that's probably not the same on the scientific courses. I'm just thinking people might be quite curious about who might be going into biology, like zoology, marine, oceanography, whatever. Might be quite curious to know, do you get pigeonholed down certain, conch eye projects, or is that a choice of yours?
I love this question because, as evident in what I have gone to do my PhD in, I did not get pigeonholed into invertebrate visual ecology. And so, now I'm in vertebrate population ecology. So I feel like you can really do anything. And I feel my thing in science, or what I suggest to young scientists, is really focus on looking at the method and what interests you on the methodology sides of what is it that piques your interest within science, not necessarily the animal that piques your interest. So when I first was working in Dr. Dan Spizer's lab at the University of South Carolina, I got involved in a ton of undergraduate research. So how I actually got to the conch eye regeneration aspect of my project was through a lot of trial and error. I tried a bunch of things in cockles, which are a clam, and they did not have any interesting visual systems.
Okay, is every aquatic animal that's an invertebrate have a crazy funny name? Is that what we've learned today? Conch, cockle.
There's Narina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so ridiculous.
Wow. Okay. There we go.
break.
That's
Oh
all right
man,
then.
yeah, that's
All right.
perfect. That's actually what I was looking for, the answer. I didn't think I asked the question too well, so I'm pleased you understood what I was asking. It's just more of a curiosity that my like creative kind of course is more open to basically anything. You can sort of like bullshit your way through any sort of dissertation. It's not a problem. But I'm just wondering on the sort of like the strictness of the rules of what you can do for a dissertation, master project, and even PhD level.
Yeah, I
So
think.
that's a good question because, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say
Did
you,
you
you,
want to
you
go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Chris?
Jamie.
Okay.
You go ahead, Jamie. You're the guest. I'll just add something again, but you go for it, please.
Oh, okay, thank you. Um, I right now, I think permits are actually dictating sort of what I can and cannot study. So a lot of permitting is sort of in science that restricts what we can study. Also, the gaps in knowledge. So when we dive into like a literature search, seeing what people have done has really helped, and what has worked previously and what also didn't. What I feel when I was working through all of my undergraduate projects, I think I had 3 over the course of my bachelor's. 2 of them did not work at all, and then one of them somewhat did. And so I've been trying so many different things, and if it doesn't work, or if it doesn't pique my interest, I can say I tried it. And I tell young scientists now that even if you try it and you don't like it, that is just as good as finding something that you do like and pursuing it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree, Jamie. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
Sorry, I was just going to say really quick to build on what you said, Jamie. I think a lot of it too is obviously for you, Jamie, and you for for you, Michela, you had experience in the sort of North American system, and because I work with students from all over the world, it's very variable. It's very different. Europe, all of Europe, England, very different systems. So, Nick's coming from obviously like a media side, not a science side. But the concept of being much more free as a student to choose your own project is actually pretty common in Europe. Whereas in North America, it's much more, obviously, you mentioned, I'm in a lab. That doesn't exist in most European universities that I've worked with. It's much more, you're just a student, you do your own thing. So I guess I was only going to add that there's a lot of freedom in Europe from what I've seen. And I think the point you made, Jamie, which is super important, is, encouraging students to pick something that they're passionate about and they want to pursue. Because once you get into these projects, you're going to spend a lot of time doing it and a lot of time for your data and a lot of time writing it. And if you hate it or you're just bored by it, well, it's not going to be very fun. It's not going to be very productive and you're not going to learn a lot. Whereas if you find it interesting and you're inspired by it, you're going to gain a lot from it. So I think that's always my advice when talking to students. And because a lot of our listeners are from different regions of the world, I just thought it was good to add that.
Definitely. Well, I like the fact that you're emphasizing the methodology and the system as opposed to the individual thing, because a lot of people, I actually know a few people on different courses we were talking about Exeter University beforehand, and they're doing a marine biology degree, and it's almost solely because they like whales and they like dolphins. There's not really much like more to that, which is fine, but it's like emphasizing finding the way that they can enjoy that whilst being productive to science is actually such a useful message. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And also I think it's good to note too that, in these programs, I remember my advisor telling me that, in science is so unpredictable. So you may start out with a goal in mind, you love whales or you love sea turtles, and then suddenly, something doesn't work out and then you have to adapt. And I think that's what's beautiful about science too, is that you can adapt your interests as well. And you have to be flexible too, because, like Jamie said, she tried many different, avenues for her master's and then finally found something. And, but it made it work and obviously got you to where you are right now. And that kind of like leads me into a question that I have a couple, but one of them is, I think, this is really well known, is that so many people, when they want to become a quote unquote marine biologist, it's whales, sea turtles, dolphins, right? But these are really heavily saturated fields and it's difficult to get into it. So to hear that you have a sea turtle biologist that's, really successful, I'm sure a lot of people would be wondering, how did you get there? What advice do you have for the younger scientists? And then to add into that, I know that you do a lot of outreach and especially for inclusivity in the STEM world. And I would think that, I'd love to hear you to touch on that a little bit too, and what you do and how that is important as well.
I love this question. So first off, I think science is for everyone. Yesterday, I spent my entire day teaching young scientists at an event called STEM in STEM at the Fort Fisher Aquarium in North Carolina. And it was so much fun. I was directing kids from 3 years old to 15 years old and adults from any ages on the microscope and seeing their eyes light up when they saw the growth rings of stained turtle bones and the growth rings in dolphin teeth and also the growth rings in fish otoliths. It's all conserved through these aging structures. And so they can use this method of age estimation in any vertebrate that has these correlative rings. And so seeing their eyes sort of like make those connections really just put joy in my head. And I was so happy. And that's what really fuels my science. I really love sharing my passion, my enthusiasm, because I feel like I have a lot of it. It is also caffeine driven, but I love sharing it with future scientists and also just the public. So okay, wait, I feel like I strayed away from the question, but
that was right.
Nick, what was the first part of the question?
Just, being that this is such a oversaturated field at times, yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Thank you. So yes, sea turtle and protected species research in general for marine mammals, and honestly, like highly migratory species such as tunas and swordfish, even some of those fields are very saturated and hard to come by. I feel like I'm going back to my point of really developing your skills in a methodology and really trying to learn just as many transferable skills as possible. I was, for example, when I lived in Beaufort while working at the NOAA lab, I joined the Beaufort Lions Club, and I learned a lot of public speaking through that because I don't know why, but I became the vice president and then president of all of these retirees in the community. So a 25-year-old was leading a group of like 60 to 80-year-olds. And so that gave me a lot of public speaking experience, but also transferable skills to teach them in, I hate to say it, but more general terms, technology, like genuinely. I was teaching them how to email and how to do Word. And also I built them a website. So these transferable skills that were not necessarily science related have also helped me in my career. For example, I mean, I've been applying for fellowships and stuff. And so I'm trying to I've been trying to get better about explaining my research to people that are not experts in it. And that is a learned skill. That really is. Scientists they become experts in such a niche field that we sometimes forget how to explain our science and our passions and our work to people that do not know what we're talking about. So yes, this learned skill that I've been trying to explain my research has translated to applying for different fellowships in sea turtle worlds that have also helped me get funding. And so, yeah, these transferable skills, that's my biggest advice for young scientists is just try and get I say it's a toolbox of skills. Just try and get all these skills, and the collection of these tools along your career really add up. They really add up. And just keep a record of all of those different tools because they really contribute to how you are eligible for all these different positions. You'll surprise yourself.
Totally.
Oh, sorry, Michela.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say is that I think a lot of the older generation scientists originally they're like, oh, stick to one field. If you have one interest such as fisheries, you need to stick to the fisheries. But honestly, having a broad skill set is so essential nowadays because it's so applicable because we're looking at science a little bit more holistically now, which is really important instead of just looking at one taxa and forgetting how interrelated they are. And then, like you said, those skill sets are so transferable. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, I was literally just about to say, based on what you were saying, is I just spent 6 weeks with Dick, who was on the podcast, and one of his favorite sayings that he said a few times, which were really good, is that he's like, look, life's just a game, and we're just trying to get little skill points and try and make our way up it. Get your drone skills, get your methodologies in, and so I just love that. So we're all just trying to get something that's a little bit improved each time.
Yeah, it really is. I love that. It is a game.
I want to touch back on one of the questions I have, and I would love for you to elaborate a little bit more on, your educational outreach. And I know that you're really devoted to inclusivity in STEM, and I think that's really amazing because, I think as we are growing in society, we are becoming more inclusive, which is really important. So I'd love for you to kind of touch on that if you could.
Thank you so much for asking this, because that was something that I left out. A huge part of my work is trying to improve diverse representation within STEM for previously and historically underrepresented communities, such as women, minorities, and really anyone, LGBTQ plus community, anyone that has been historically excluded from STEM fields. I really think science is for everyone, and anyone can look through a microscope. Anyone can find excitement or passion in nature and from the natural world. So I think STEM should be for everyone, and we should really be actively trying to include people that have been historically excluded from STEM. For example, right now I'm serving as a position on the SAND committee, which stands for Science, Access, Inclusion, and Diversity at the UNCW biology department. And with this position, I have been able to actually, it's shocking seeing how lacking diversity, equity, and inclusion is in STEM. It's very shocking, to be totally honest. Mm-hmm. And I've been sort of disappointed with the North Carolina school system because they actually have just banned DEI offices that are paid people in this field at the university level, at least. So I've been very disappointed, and the SAND committee has taken this on as a big initiative. And so, yeah, I really want to expand STEM representation for previously excluded communities from STEM. And right now, actually, yesterday, I actively participated in that Fem and STEM event, and we were showcasing women's contributions in the STEM field from dating back to the 1800s to that day. Every single booth, there was about, I want to say, 40 booths from a variety of different centers, university labs, and community partners that were all women. It was very inspiring.
That's awesome, and obviously super important. Of all different backgrounds, all different ages, all different sexes, all different everything. So we need this. We need much more inclusivity and a lot less old white guys dominating science. That's for sure.
Yes.
So. Yeah, no offense to the good ones out there, but I think everybody knows what I mean. Yeah, well, again, we could continue to talk about many different topics with you, Jamie, but we should probably move on to your field story, which, again, since this is the first that I met you and the first that Nick's met you, I think I can speak for myself and Nick today. We have no idea what your story is going to be about, and Michela might have some inkling in some way. I don't know, but I certainly have no clue. So we're certainly excited to see what kind of story you have for us this week. So go ahead and hit us with your field story, Jamie.
All right. So this took place when I was a C-Troll biologist at the NOAA lab back when I first joined as a freshly minted master's student. And so I was fresh out in the world as a quote unquote adult, but I was working as a big girl job. And so we were going out using a boat, actually going out to Core Sound within actually just south, I guess it's just north, of Cape Lookout National Seashore. And so we were trying to look at if there are any deterrent devices to reduce sea turtle bycatch in the pound net industry. Pound nets are really fascinating because this type of fishery is sort of a stationary net used in sort of more shallow areas to catch bait fish and ground fish, such as flounder or menhaden. And it's been historically used up through Maryland down to the Carolinas in cores and sounds to collect these fish. Turtles love these nets, by the way. They love them. It's a buffet of food for them. And so we want to try and see if there are these devices that could deter these turtles and tell them, please look out for this net, go somewhere else, go find fish elsewhere. So, for example, we used light deterrents and sound deterrents. So we were conducting this study for 6 weeks, and we would have to fish the pound net every single day. So every 24 hours, we were permitted research to fish the pound every 24 hours, because if there was a turtle in there, we did not want it to become entangled or become actual bycatch. And so we have to fish that net every 24 hours. And so a team of scientists had gone out, me included. I think there were 4 of us out there. And this was one of the first years of the study. So we were going out in the boat. It was already a little bit of a choppy, overcasty day. And so at this point in the research, we hadn't been told no, that we couldn't get in the water. And so at that point, we were fishing the pounds, putting all the turtles back, measuring, taking blood, taking measurements of all the turtles and all of the fish that was caught. And then we would have to get in the water, which was freezing, by the way, because it became October in North Carolina. And so the water was cold. I had no wetsuit on. I think I had one of those thin Leica suits on. And so I jump in the water with, technically she was the PI, Dr. Wendy Dow-Peniak. She's actually at NOAA Fisheries now. She was conducting the study to look at if light deterrence or sound deterrence reduce sea turtle bycatch. And her and I were the lucky ones that got in the water. So here we are, sort of wading along the pound net, going along the lead line and pulling lights off, putting the fake ones on. The fake ones were just control lights that had the batteries and everything, but they were in the opposite position, so the lights wouldn't turn on. So we had control lights and then experimental lights, and we have to switch them out pretty much every 2 days. So we were getting the water every 2 days. Here we are, switching the lights out, and the boat is on the other side of the net, and I'm looking up at the captain, and he quickly says, "Jamie, Wendy, jump up to the net." And I look behind me, and I see a dorsal fin just splashing behind me, about 10 yards behind me. And in fact, it was a feeding bull shark feeding on a ray about 10 yards behind me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not the one you want.
Not the one. Not the one.
Not the shark you want to deal with.
Yeah. So the captain, he instructs us quickly to like hop over the net, and I couldn't help. I didn't feel like a sense of panic, but I did feel a sense of curiosity of like, what the hell is behind me? So I look back and I'm sort of taking my time, and he's like, "Jamie, come on, get in the boat." And so I'm like getting over the net, and I sort of finally see how big the shark was. It was about a 6-footer. And so he was like 10 yards behind me, swims off, he's fine. But he's like, the captain's yanking us back into the boat because after that experience, we were no longer able to get in the water. We had to use a paddle board, and now they use a kayak to change the lights out.
Wow.
Wow.
That's really cool. What? I mean, bull shark of all sharks as well. Damn.
It's not the one to mess with.
Yeah,
I like that it took, instead of you guys freezing, they're like, yeah, let's risk your life. And then, we'll consider kayaks.
Yeah. But this actually led to NOAA buying their own kayak, and it is actually NOAA's smallest research vessel that they use to replace the lights. Yes. So I guess I made some impact. I created a vessel. I should have christened it with a champagne bottle.
Should have your name on it, that's for sure.
I mean, at least it's not in memory of Jamie. That's the good news. That would be kind of like the Jamie Clark research kayak in memory of, thank God it's not that at least.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's so funny.
That was amazing.
Yeah, well,
Awesome.
that's I guess that's true. I mean, we a lot of the work in the in ocean research, you take for granted how it really is. Like, I guess it's kind of like working in mountains or something like that, or in the air. It's just not our world really. So when we get out there into it, and something like that's just cruising around, you quickly realize that you're not an aquatic mammal, and they're not a mammal, but they're an aquatic organism, and you're not. So it's like you got to get out of there and respect them. So that's very true. Eh? Wow,
that's good stuff.
Very, very good story. Now that you're safe.
Turtles too.
A
big loggerhead turtle almost bit through our gas line of the boat one time.
Wow.
Whoa.
So even turtle mouths were crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
Turtles are brutal.
Yeah. Turtles are brutal.
So cool.
Says the turtle queen. Yeah, says the turtle queen. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you times you're processing them. You respect the turtle.
The equally brutal turtle queen. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was
amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome, Jamie. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. We'll definitely try to have you on again in the future. Where are you at in your project now? Actually, that's something. What stage are you at? I don't know if you explained it. If you did, I might have missed it. But just for myself and any other listeners wondering, what stage are you at in, and yeah, where are you at in it right now?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I am sort of fresh in it. I just started my second year of my PhD, but I felt lucky coming in. I knew exactly what I
Cool.
wanted to do and sort of knew where the gaps in literature were. So I sort of started the ground running from the start. So I might be a little bit more far advanced, but yeah, second year of my PhD, and I'm really excited to really get the ground running.
Yeah, I'm really
Okay.
excited to see the outcome and the of your research too, Jamie, because I think that this could be, and we were talking about things and skills being transferable to so many organisms because
Yeah.
like a lot of turtles that I identify or even snakes, it's so hard to age them, especially in terms of turtles, like the annuli smooth out. So, when you're basing it off of annuli, it's really not that reliable. So it's until they unfortunately pass away until we can get a tibia sample. So for you to, have this, I think this is going to be very groundbreaking. And I'm sure a lot of researchers, including myself, will be wanting to kind of talk to you and get a hands on this too. So this is amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it needs to happen for so many different species. So many are at risk. And yeah, we need to start assessing what those size and age structures and the health of different populations.
Yeah, that's why I asked too, because I'm curious, like on a professional level, I'm curious, but also from from obviously for the show as well. I would love to have you on again in the future and maybe talk about where your research is going, how it's looking, or maybe preliminary results, etc. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Jamie. Yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll definitely have you on again to bring some more stories. I'm sure you'll accumulate and also share some more of your research.
I have plenty, so I would love to come back. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go science.
Ciao. Ciao.
Well, that was amazing. I'm so glad we got to have Jamie on and, not only just as my friend, but, I think she was a really good representation of the sea turtle world. And even though us freshwater turtle biologists aren't a huge fan of sea turtle world, I love Jamie. And I think that her, I know. I'm going to post
What is this?
You were
What is this? Like
biologist.
turtle biology gossip and
There's
oh
a
my
few.
god.
You know that, but
Oh
like
my
at our turtle
god.
conferences, we have like our freshwater turtle conferences, and no sea turtle people are allowed.
Everybody loves sea turtles. Nobody loves the freshwater turtle. That's not fair.
They're like,
Oh my
that's
god.
exactly how it is. That's
Can't we all
exactly-
just
but
love the
anyways.
turtles? Oh.
Okay,
God.
listen, I do.
After that comment, I'm starting to like
It gets
sea turtles
old.
more.
It gets old. Like, aren't you're a turtle biologist? You work with sea turtles? I'm like, there are other turtles. Love the other turtles. Anyways. But I think, listening to her research was really interesting. And I think that this is going to be very innovative and applicable to so many different species outside of sea turtles.
Oh my god, listen to
They're just
this.
gonna leave the sea
This is
turtles out of it.
unreal. This is oh my god, this is a window into your world there. I love this. This is do you know what?
This is
This is
horrible.
actually okay. We're not gonna get deep into this because there's no way we have time. But one day, if we have an episode or just a chat amongst us and we're looking for topics, one of those topics is this and I'm gonna be serious for a minute. It's actually this competitiveness within the field of biology and conservation, which is can be this is lighthearted. You're having fun with Michela. I know that. To be the record, this is a joke. She's a great friend of yours. It's a joke, but it actually is real. And it's real, and it can be destructive, actually quite destructive in progress and conservation. So, you're joking, but it actually, this joke's coming from but this joke is coming from a place of reality, which you know about and I know about, and we've probably all seen firsthand. So, that's a topic for another day. But you're kidding, but in the reality of this world we work in, it can be very real, and it's actually kind of destructive sometimes. So yeah, you're joking, but I know. But wow, this can be real sometimes. Yeah.
Big thanks to Jamie for gatekeeping the sea turtle information. That's
Wow.
So yeah, no, that was but yeah, just going back to the episode and away from the dramas. There was it was honestly so interesting to hear about the aging sequencing and how it's actually hopefully going to be able to progress science in the future. I mean, hopefully, Chris, you'll be able to use it in your world, and Michela, you too. So yeah, hopefully what she was saying is obviously it's going to come to fruition, and maybe aging will be easier. And I mean, I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and I think this is a good, like I said, it's a really good window, as you said, Nick. I mean, whether this exact techniques are used in working with the groups that I'm working with or Michela's working with, I mean, it is. I think in the broader scale, it's just an example of how technology is really advancing to do more, I guess, creative and less obvious ways of helping with us to understand the natural world. When we think about science and technology, the first thing most of us would think about would be a camera trap, a microphone, maybe GPS, telemetry, or satellite. And those are amazing things. We all know that. But there are many other ways now we're trying to use technology. And obviously, understanding how the technology works, and then, of course, the size of it, and, of course, the cost of it is often a limitation, depending on the topic. But yeah, I think it's really cool and exciting. And, hard to imagine, think about 100 years ago, we weren't even using, what's a computer 100 years ago now? And now we couldn't even imagine doing our work without it. And, imagine where we're going to be in another 25 years, 50 years, 100 years of technology. So yeah, it's really exciting and cool to see her field of research and how, it can be applicable directly and even indirectly. So very cool guest. Very, very cool topic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely. Well,
awesome.
I think that is a wrap for today.
That's a wrap. Yeah, brilliant.
Yep. The three amigos here together again. Don't know how often that's going to happen, but yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it when we can get it, right? The three of us. So it's been
try.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube. And people have started commenting on the Spotify, which is good. So keep that going. We're open to all feedback. So please keep that trend going. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right. Bye, all.